Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus, and I'm back again. On the one hand, I'm sad, and on the other hand, I'm glad. I'm sad that I have to continuously come back so frequently because of our status as far as our country is concerned and our dealing with it, being in it. I long for the day when I can come and give you a bit of good news. And then I don't have to come back anymore because we are all experiencing what the good news is all about. But until then, there are situations that have to be addressed. And as one who have been given a position relative to the powers that's unseen and us, I have to be obedient and stay here in the midst of all of this confusion to see that the one that truly loves you get a hearing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have been taking some notes over the past few hours. Notes that things just dropped on my mind, and I feel that it needs to be addressed at least from this perspective on you. And I want to thank you so very much for still holding on to this post. But I think about some real things that needs to be done as far as bringing some relief to the people of this nation and hopefully to the people of this world. Right here, I wrote this note. The rich will never use the money to create jobs for the unemployed. You think about people talking about trickle-down effect. You're talking about people raising taxes so that the corporations and those who got plenty of money can reinvest the money and make the country more progressive. You hear about all of that stuff. That's sometimes. But in reality, what you're basically hearing is the creation of more multi-billionaires. Multi-billionaires. And that far as the change being made on Main Street that represents something that people can be excited about, it's just being depleted. I don't care who walks up there telling a lie about what they are going to do. So when people are making money like that in a system that allows for progression to be made based upon what you're able to accumulate with what you offer, and it's being so separate with this wider gap between it, then something is wrong. Something is wrong. I don't care what you say. I want to tell you that something is wrong and something needs to be done. I wonder how many of you disagree or agree. Something needs to be done. The rich got super rich and the poor got poor in a country that's supposed to be set up in such a way that we are all one nation. Laws made by the people, for the people. And this is what we got. Something is wrong. We need to rethink this stuff or think for the first time because apparently somebody has not been doing any thinking. I was just thinking about the Republicans and how they respond to some of the situations that's prevalent in our lives today. And as I was just thinking, I know the figures that I came up with are probably not precise. In fact, I'm sure they're not. But they're just to make a point. And I said, based upon those thoughts, that Republicans care. When you start talking about Republicans and this nation and give us the right to do this and to do that, we are Republicans and this is what we represent. Now, you fill in the blanks. I'm talking to you Republicans. You know who you are. You fill in the blanks, and I'm talking to you other ones because you know what I'm talking about when I say it. We're Republicans, but the truth of it is that when Republicans and the decisions that they make, they didn't care if it only affected no more than 2 million, maybe up to 50 million people. Republicans would be satisfied. Anywhere from 2 million to 50 million people of 350 Americans. It's 350 of us, give or take a few. I don't know what's exact, but that's a great number. And you talking about 2 million? to 50 million? Wow. That means, who put them in power? How did they get there? Something is wrong with that. Something is very wrong with that. We talk about the Democrats. Now, let's see if they're any different. If you really looked at it, did a research and study about how often Democrats have been in power, the changes that have been made from the time they started being in power up until the current time, and let's see about how much Democrats care about the people. If you were honest, you would give Democrats about 100 million. Now, Republicans, 2 million to 50 million. Democrats, probably 100 to even maybe 175 million. Or they would be three a pink. They would be three a pink to accomplish that. Because they would be so far over the Republicans. So how would you want to vote for a Republican who cares for so few of you? But when you think about the Democrats, up to 100, maybe 175 million of 350 million people, give or take a few, something is wrong with that. Something is wrong with that. Well, yet and still, out of this situation, the voters will go to the polls and vote. A third will vote for the Republicans. Half will vote for the Democrats. And yet there's a power out there that's concerned about one citizen, one American citizen, all the way to 350 million American citizens. But it's a power that's invisible. You can't see it. You can't touch it. You can't just grab it, put your hands on it. And you can't emotionalize it into being something that is not. It's invisible and it's real. However, it requires a possession of we the people, we individuals, to allow that spirit to live in us. Oh, it makes itself known without getting in us. It makes itself known by all things that we understand as existing. But the kinds of things that I'm talking about now, it makes itself known by living in us, being in us, and we taking care of that which is important to us. How many votes would that get? Not a single vote. Not one. Not one vote. The only one that cares for you won't get one vote. They used to say, when you have romantic relationships, they used to talk about the girls. They would say that the girls would never go for the boy that was crazy about her. The best dude, the one that would make her a wonderful husband, so she'd pass him over anytime. Why? Because she wanted something that she didn't feel that a person that was so well-rounded and put together could give. She wanted the foolishness. The foolishness is the life thing, they say. You've heard it before. I'm telling you nothing that you don't know of. And somebody might say, well, since God, this thing that you call God, or this power is invisible, what evidence do we have that he can deal with the kinds of things that we are dealing with, that we are confronted with every day? I say to you, that's stupid. You walking on the same earth that power is responsible for. You living in a house, if you are, that's built with material that invisible power is responsible for. In fact, you are living in a body that invisible power is responsible for you having. And you say, how can you trust that invisible power can make sure that you have food, clothing, shelter, education, health care, that your dreams can be met, that you can live in peace, prosperity, and joy, and freedom, and the fulfillment of your dreams. How can you trust that that will happen? Out of all the stuff that you know happened, that nobody else had anything to do with. And so rather than put your faith for your dreams and your heaven on earth, you put it on something that results in haves and have-nots and lying and cheating and stealing and racism and bigotry and murder. Man, oh man, oh man. Let me say something else. All of those convicted with the Trump scandals that refused to inform the public of the threat. You know all those guys. We had some Venoms and some of those others who came down bold and courageous and acted like they had some sense. Acted like they had some values, some morals. Acted like they were a part of something that were bigger than themselves. And they strutted on down against the orders of a dictator. And they spoke their hearts to the American people. When we thank them for it, we really do thank them for it. Because there were those others who were even their bosses, who had information that they had, who had more information that they had. And we, the American people, 350 million of us, held in a grip by some liars, some misfits who don't need to be in office. And yet, these other people with the information didn't care enough about the American people, not enough about the Constitution of the United States, not enough about their oath of office. What did they care about? Well, what are they trying to get? They are trying to get money. They've made, let's say this nation is captured by some old undisciplined stuff that this leadership get America caught up in. That we as a nation could have prevented had we had certain information. But we didn't have that information because money was so important to certain people. I think there's a lesson that should be sent to all of the citizens of this nation based upon just what has happened. I don't think these guys who held that information for money, go make your books, go do your manuscripts, go get them printed out. And I don't think the American people should spend one penny on anything that you got to say. I don't think it's worth it. We would have overcome, we have survived it, and it doesn't matter now. When we could have put out the fire, you would not help us. Now the house is burned down or rebuilt, whatever the situation is, and you didn't do anything to support it. So how in the world? You're living here. You should be grateful if it's worthwhile, or sad if it's not. That's what you played into it. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you use your head. Somebody gonna let your house burn down, then come sell you a book about what happened and how it happened and how he got the information. And wouldn't tell you nothing. They'll put it out or get those guys that burned it down, and now he wants you to buy his book. Come on. Now, I know it sounds stupid. I want it to sound stupid just like it is. So you can send some messages to the next people out here who see stuff, who just turn their back on us and let people use us, abuse us, and beat us down to mercilessness just so they can make a buck. Well, anyway, let's see. These people, yeah, I think I kind of, you got any questions on that? Well, don't pick up your phone and call me because I will not get it. Another thing, this racism thing. I want you to know that the truth of the matter is racism has always been here. Ever since they've been using something to delineate between those certain people and others. And that had to do with money. And racism is just one of the tools that's used to keep people split so they can be divided, and you can use each one as you choose to, based upon what your goals and objectives are. So the racism is just something that's built up. It's just something that's created. and you can get it rid of it as soon as you do the right thing. It will end. But until that happens, it will always continue. But we must eliminate the effects of racism. We got to, anything that profits because of money, and that's how you determine it, you can end it. Just end the money. And it'll stop. So this is the thing that's racism between blacks and whites, trying to make sure that you got your billionaires, multi-billionaires, and you got your billionaires and your multi-millionaires, and you got your poor people, black and white. But they're blaming each other. You got them convinced that you're smart. I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you can say what you want to say, but I'm going to tell you, every billionaire, every multi-billionaire is a thief. He is an absolute thief. Now, many of you might say, well, he followed the law. He didn't break any laws. It was legit. I don't care if it was legit. He's a thief. Well, why you say that? Because he broke the moral code. There's not supposed to be any poverty around here. There's not supposed to be any suffering around here. But when somebody got all of that up there and nothing in here, what are you going to have? What you got. So I don't care if it is legal. Somebody hit me inside my head. If I'm held a slave on somebody's plantation because this one man want me to be a slave, it ain't right. Or if the nation wants me to be a slave, neither one of them right. So you don't get me and say, well, the nation said it. No, the nation was just as wrong as that one was wrong. And so you got to stand up against the nation just like you stand up against one, if you're right. So the way we deal with this racism thing is getting rid of this economic system that keeps us so divided, keeps us robbed, keep us dumbfounded, not knowing what's happening, blame the spouses, blaming each other. When the thief is outside and the ones inside putting up with it, blaming themselves. Woo, oh boy. And another thing, Attorney General Barr, he had to be approved by the Senate. I want to ask you, how in the world I'm asking you, Congress, how in the world did you put that snake in there to look over there and protect the American people's interests? How in the world, ladies and gentlemen of America, you see what your Congress did? They put 2 snakes in the White House. They put a snake called the president. You did that, America. I understand how you did it now. I understand how you did it. I hope you understand what you did. And I hope you're smart enough to quit it. But I'm talking to the people that Barr sat down and told whatever he told them, who was so blind that they put him right there knowing that he was going to do exactly what he's doing. You know that, ladies and gentlemen? They knew that he was going to do exactly what he's doing. They had all the evidence, but they put him there anyway. Why? Because they did not care about you. So what we're basically seeing here in my dissertation right here, ladies and gentlemen, is this. People don't really care about one another. People don't really care about one another. You're talking about family. You're talking about where people are so close and so warm. Man, things are so cold on the outside till it's freezing inside the house. People ain't holding tight. People clawing at each other, wondering how to defeat one another, even in the household. You think I'm lying? No, you know I'm not, because it's happening in your household. Well, they put Attorney General Barr there. And another thing, wow, time passed fast. America sees Trump disgracing this country. Why is he still in office? I mean, this man is disgracing the country, and he's still sitting there in office with Barr sitting beside him. You know, Not too long ago, baseball, Padres, somebody, I'm not sure. Whoever won the World Series 2019, 2020. They got caught. Somebody said they was stealing signals and stuff. I guess they got enough evidence to support it. And management, some people in management, somebody had to take responsibility and what? Resign. And there was something else on my mind. I can't think of it right now. Some dude was heading some organization. Oh, bring it here. A lady, principal, just recently, a week ago, said something foul about Kobe Bryant. Said something foul. Just said something foul. One thing she said foul about Kobe Bryant, a principal of a school. And she ended up having to resign because of one statement that she said about Kobe Bryant. And here's a man up in Washington, everything comes out of his mouth is a bald-faced, straight-up lie. Is a bald-faced, straight-up lie in the evidence. You can put a camera picture right here in one thing. You got the evidence that it's a bald-faced, straight-up lie almost every time he opens his mouth. And he's still sitting up there in office. Still sitting up there in office. Somebody say, well, what happened? We really didn't have the legal mechanisms to take him out. We had enough of the Constitution said there to be protected by people who had some sense. We never thought about it might be a knucklehead that come here with no sense. We never thought there would be one smart enough to trick us. But we left the door open just in case. Not for him to get out, but for somebody else with more power that we respected to get out. And so what we find ourselves in, caught in a twix. And here he is. I heard somebody say that, well, there is no way that you can just legally take him out because he has a certain amount of power that's... I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen, out of all the things that he's doing, the only thing that's happening on the other side is people talking. Talking about what he's doing. Talking about how it doesn't make any sense. Talk. Time passing. Everything's setting in. The nation changing. Lies mean alternative facts now. What in the world is this? He's still in office. If I walked down the street and slapped a person, I'd be in jail in a little while if I'm still living. He says he can walk down the street and kill somebody and get away with it. What does that say about you? You, the American people, what does that say about you? Can you let a Pied Piper come into this country and start singing his songs of lies and deception, and you're following him straight down to the rivers to drown? When you know the song, when you know the path, and you're following it, knowing the end, what can you say about a people like that? Well, Donald Trump, I heard somebody say that he feels that the law should bend to his will. Well, if he's evil enough to think that the law should bend to his will, then I want to say I got enough spirit to say that God should bend to mine. And the way that anything, the laws of anything, is bending to Trump's will, that means you, the people, are going along with whatever he's doing, or talking against it but doing nothing else. And so what that means as far as what I'm saying is those of you who believe in God, and I'm not talking about that God that cares about only your race. I'm not talking about those of you who care about a God that cares only about your particular gender. A God that only cares about your state, your area. I'm not talking about a God like that. I'm talking about those of you who got a God that cares about everybody at the far left all the way across to the far right and made us a situation so they can live in heaven right here on earth. Those of you, I expect every last one of you to back every word I say as long as I'm telling the truth like I'm telling it. I don't expect nobody else to follow this. They can't. A fool can't follow the truth. A fool cannot follow the truth. And anybody who go there and vote for Donald Trump is a stark-naked fool. And anybody who go there and vote for a Democrat when they have an opportunity to change this situation in America, turn it down to heaven on earth, is a stark-naked fool. And I don't mind telling you. You know why I don't mind telling you? Because you are. But that ain't the only reason. The other reason is that I'm standing before you telling you that there's another opportunity. And I'm not asking you to vote for me because the power is in the truth. The power is in the fact that God has delivered all of this already. And for its manifestation, it requires that you accept God into your life and you become the physical manifestation of that which you pray to. And once I've said that, hey, ain't no shame in my game because the rest is all on you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying goodbye.